What is going on, guys? We are here with another interview filmmaker, and this is a dual one. The second one we've had this year with Jonathan Riles being the first. Go check out that interview. But I'm joined by writer, director, and executive producer of the short film Living a Wife of Crime and the feature film Live Screamers, which made its world premiere this weekend. Mr. Michael Whaley. That's quite the introduction.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here. We'll talk about movies.
Yeah. So you're an executive producer on Live Screamers. We'll just go ahead and get that one out of the way. So we'll spend the majority of the interview talking about Living a Wife of Crime. I loved Live Screamers. It's probably been my favorite feature so far this year.
Mine too.
Can you kind of talk about how you got involved with the project?
Well, myself, Michelle Antoino, the director of Live Screamers and Live Scream, is a very close friend of mine. We live a mile down the road from each other. Oh. I met them about 7 or 8 years ago, I think, because they were just starting out and getting in the local scene, and they came and did sound on a project for me that's what they kind of did for a little while. Well, they were making their own things, but I didn't know about that. But so I was actually in Live Scream, the first one. Okay. I actually played 2 parts technically. I was if you haven't seen that, go out and watch it. And it's been out long enough, so not spoilers. I was the killer clown in it. So I'm in full clown makeup, so you can't tell it's me. And then she asked for, at the end of it, she was like, hey, we're going to put some pictures of some of the characters who passed away in this. I was like, sure, take a picture and put it up in there. And then, of course, Live Screamers came out. I was like, oh, I want to be in this one like that. And they're like, yeah, we'll have you audition. Wait, your photos in the first one, you died in this world already. I was like, oh no. So I was like, I can't be in this one. I was like, and they were like, well, we need some executive producers, and then you can come help on set. And I was like, oh, of course, I'm going to help my friend make their movie. Sure. And so I executive produced, and then I went on and did behind the scenes videography. But I always show up to set with gear, all my film gear. And then they were like, hey, do you have any extra lights? And I was like, yeah. They're like, my guy didn't show up or something along those lines. So I brought out all my lights and then gaffed it. But that's really how I got on it. I mean, they're a good friend, and I'm going to help them make anything they make, just like they help me make anything I make. They've been involved in most of. They did on my movie here today. They did post color on it. They did the color work on it. So, but yeah, so that's how I got involved.
It's a great movie. I highly recommend checking it out. It'll be doing its festival runs, and then keep an eye out for it. If you guys haven't seen Live Scream, it is available for rent right now, 99 cents on Amazon. Go support indie filmmaking. Go watch it. I was lucky enough to get a Blu-ray last night, so you
got one of the Blu-rays.
I'm so anxious to get home and watch it because I really loved it. But let's jump into Living a Wife of Crime. This movie is absolutely hilarious.
Thanks.
And it was made under 72-hour, one of those film projects that a lot of people do. So we'll jump into that in just a few seconds. But can you kind of talk about what the movie is talking about?
Basically, it's like the tagline that I've been saying is just like Jerry will do anything to make his wife happy. Is really the quick version of it. But yeah, we had the prompt that the film debacle gave us, and then we just wrote a script based on that. And it just turned into just a comedy. Which, I mean, I love comedy and comedy horror. So, but yeah, it was because of the prompts we were giving that, and the time limit we wrote, shot, and edited, and made it. And so that's how I guess that kind of dictates what we're actually making. And so it's a ridiculous comedy with a dark ending, is what it comes down to. So
it's a very dark ending. So just to kind of simplify for viewers at home, this is a film about a couple have kind of hit that spot in their marriage where they're trying to spice it up. Sex drive's kind of dried up a little bit, so their wife basically turns to a life of crime to kind of feel exhilarating again.
Feel alive.
Yeah. What was this always kind of I know it's under 72 hours, so was this kind of always the outline for it? Where did the whole idea of sex and violence kind of come into it?
Because of the prompt, our prompt for the festival was that we had to do it was a bunch of film cliches, and what we got in the random drawing was, are you as turned on as I am right now? And it was our prompt that we had to kind of make a movie about. And I knew a lot of people were going to just go, we'll just do something crazy and say, are you as turned on as I am right now? And I was like, I didn't want to do that. I mean, there's a funny, real fast joke with that, but it's done when you do that. And I wanted to write a story that had that in it. So me, the guy who plays Bodie Russell, and the guy Michael Daly who played Terry, we sat down and we kind of hashed out an idea where it was like and turned on as I am is part of the story. And then once we had that and we had kind of a basic outline of what we wanted to do, that's when I wrote it that night. And then the next day we started shooting it. But yeah, it was all dictated by our prompts to how we kind of fleshed out that story to do that. And where she's on antidepressants and the sex drive is gone, and doctor tells her, hey, there's some other things that people can do on the internet. Look it up. And her friend told her, hey, check it out. And then, of course, we make that fake Google sheet print out. My oldest did that. Was like, hey, what do you need it to say? And I did that. We put a bunch of funny stuff on there. If you get a chance to watch it, pause it on that sheet. When you go back to it, pause it and read everything there. It's got some ridiculously funny things on it. But once they do that, they start doing small crimes, and it just escalates and escalates and escalates, and that's where it goes.
One of the things that I think about that was so funny was kind of like the evolution of the crime throughout the course of it. Like it's like something like really like minuscule at first. Like it's like she basically like switches like the placement in like a grocery store, like
putting the cart back in the wrong spot.
Put the cart back in the wrong spot, and like steals a stormtrooper, and like so it's these like really random like crimes, but nothing ever seems to like work out until like very surprisingly dark ending.
Very much.
When you guys were kind of crafting the story, I know you guys were cut on time, but like did you guys kind of have like alternative ideas for what we would have seen her do?
There was another one, and I was trying to think of it yesterday. We cut one out that we didn't film because we were short. I was like, we can be okay with just 5 crimes, because when we were trying to flesh it out, we were like, what's an escalation? What's kind of a next step in evolution if you were becoming a criminal and going up a ladder? I was like, oh, because the first one's not even a crime. It's just being an asshole, not putting a cart back where it goes. But then the next one was speeding. And then we went from there, and I was like, what after speeding? What kind of common crimes are there? And we were like, and I had something that I thought went in there, but I can't remember it, because it's been a little while. So it was July. But then we went to shoplifting, and then buying illegal drugs, and then breaking and entering, and then we get to the end of it where it gets real dark. We were, that was one of the things we were doing in our outline when we were figuring out what we were going to actually write and we had the loose idea. We were like, what are the escalation in crimes? And like we were Googling stuff. we were like, what else? I can't think of another crime that would go in here. What other crimes are there? And then that was not as helpful as you'd think. We just putting in what like types of crimes, and then it's just like, I mean, we found some things on there like embezzling and stuff. I was like, you can't do that in a 72-hour film.
No, not by a long shot.
And that still just is stealing, which we did. We just in a different way. It's just there's levels of stealing, and so like it was definitely planned. And like I said, I wish I could remember what the other small crime we had. It was something that would have been before the comic book shop. So it would have been in between speeding and shoplifting. But I don't remember what it was.
So my co-host would kill me if I didn't ask this, but it was brought up last night in the Q&A that a part of the prompt was that it had to be kind of feel like a Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah, the prompts were, it was a vibe is what it was, and they gave you a screenshot to try to do as a vibe, and that's what our opening was. We got the screenshot of Nicolas Cage and Matchstick Men, where there's a pregnant woman standing in the frame, and he's down with his head and hand on the belly.
Yeah.
And so like that's what the opening scene was. She's got her hand and stuff on his belly. We actually, one of the things on the table in that opening scene, like the bowl, it's like a bread bowl or something. There was a bread bowl on the table in that picture. So we put a couple things like in the foreground of that photo to try to get the same feel of the Nicolas Cage picture in Matchstick Men. But yeah, you get a prompt and a vibe. And like they didn't want to, like they give you an option because they roll D20s, and because there's 2 things, and you got to choose the switch of either one of them. And the other thing that I didn't choose was the prompt of multiple personalities, but it was the thing I liked, the Nicolas Cage vibe was Nicolas Cage and Kick-Ass. And it was him like kind of doing something with the fire behind him and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's going to be a harder photo to try to get the vibe of. I was like, it'll be multiple personalities is easy. One of his personalities thinks he's a superhero, so we could tie it in easier that way. But I was like, I thought the other way that we chose was harder. And I was like, I didn't want to I didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to take the easy way out. Sure. I mean, it's a 72-hour. Don't be wrong. There was when we were coming up with the ideas because we had to pick on the phone with the debacle people. They were like, which one do you want to do? So we had to choose. So they had to know what it was. So we couldn't go, oh, I changed my mind. We'll go back to the other one. And so like there were times we were writing. I was like, I wish I would have picked multiple personalities and kick ass. I was like, it might have been easier, but then after like it took us about 3 hours to break it out the idea. So, but yeah, that's why we went with that. And there was a bunch of different Nick Cage movie vibes for the whole thing, which was fun.
I love that my guy is a whole vibe now. I'm the co-host of our Nicolas Cage podcast, so nice. That's the reason I ask. But one of the last things I want to ask in terms of how this film addresses mental health is clearly when you have someone that you have characters that have been married or even married in real life, there hits that inevitable kind of wall of like sex becoming a challenge. Like it's no longer like when you guys were first married, but now it's kind of like having to reconvene, whether that's schedule, parenthood, and that really kind of starts to take a effect on like your own like a view of yourself and like your opinion. Sure. Can you kind of talk about how this film addresses that with these characters?
I mean, getting older and having a huge life and family can be super difficult to find time to be intimate. And it's just like, and these characters, they're like, was a very good husband, is very understanding and not some jackass who's like trying to force his wife to have sex just because he wants to, because that's not what a relationship is. Yeah. And so like I wanted to portray him as an understanding husband who's just trying to help his wife because you're a team, and to try to get both back on the same page of where it is. And like in this, like we had it where it was like the antidepressants were helping or hurting the libido of the wife. And so they was to get him to try to help her do whatever she can to get it back, because she wants to have that libido back. It's not like it's like, oh, it's gone, tough shit. So I think him trying to be a good partner and do that will also, honestly, the underlying, I think that's what will help the most of helping their wife get through the challenges of, having the family, having everything else like that, and also being on medicine that also knocks down that sex drive. And so like I wanted to portray that mental health wise in a good way, and not just have him, because it was real easy to make a joke and have him be kind of like an asshole about it, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to portray it, honest and like in him in a good way as being a supportive partner. And I think that ultimately does help mental health wise when those things come up.
Yeah, I think definitely that's kind of like a beautiful exploration of like exactly how the film portrays it. But probably my last question is the kind of flipping the typical like pizza, no money stereotype that pornography has kind of implemented into our popular culture.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite scene in the entire movie, where it's kind of like flipping those expectations.
Yeah.
You talked about like the actor kind of improvising last night during the Q&A. What was it like? How important was it to kind of take that stereotype and kind of flip it on its head?
I thought, honestly, like there wasn't a like underlying like, oh, I want to flip this on its head. It kind of happened naturally, and I don't know if it was just for my writing and the actors being part of it that it did. Once it did, and we realized that's what it was doing, we're like, oh, we're embracing this. Like, I like the idea of flipping this on its head. But as a filmmaker, and all filmmakers know, just like sometimes you don't intentionally start doing something some way, but then it starts to happen naturally, and then you embrace it. Yeah. And I think that's more what we did with that. When it started to flip, I was like, oh, flip this on its head. Don't do it the cliche way. Don't do it, and so that's how that ended up. It's just, it kind of went naturally with the story, and then we embraced it and made it like, let's flip this shit. so that's what we did there. And and I just thought it was funny. Yeah, with a little caveat, the pizza guy, is actually a pizza guy in real life. He's a cook. He's worked at a pizza place for years. He's fantastic, tossing dough and all this sort of stuff like that. But that's why like that work shirt, and that he wears, and those pizza boxes were ones from his job. His place only does generic pizza box. He doesn't work at a big chain pizza place. He works at I don't want to say mom and pop because they've got quite a few locations where we're from, but it's a good pizza place. And
I was gonna say anything that's not major retail or company wise, it like always has the better pizza. So
for sure, they do too.
Michael, thank you so much. The movie is called Living a Wife of Crime, and he also has executive produced the amazing feature length film. The Live Screamers, if you guys get a chance to check it out, I highly recommend both of them. Living a Wife of Crime is hilarious, and it's really well made. Where can people find you online?
On Instagram, it's under Always Michael Whaley. I'm not giving out a Twitter or X thing. I'm still on there. I'm on Threads and on Blue Sky, but I don't remember off the top of my head because I haven't had to give those out before. They might also be under Always Michael Whaley. Facebook's under C Michael Whaley, under Michael Whaley. Sorry, I don't add the C on the Facebook. And then turnerphrasefilms.com is my website, and it hasn't been updated in a little while, but you can still go there and see some old stuff and some of the stuff we've worked on before. I need to update it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And you see me on the festival circuit if you're out there.
Just look for the awesome beard. You'll find it. So thank you guys. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thanks.
And be sure to check out both of his films and click the links in the show notes below. Check out, follow him on socials. And in the show notes below, you guys will also find links to our mental health resource library, all of our socials, Patreon, and that subscribe button. So stay classy until the next one.